I used to babysit when I was younger, mostly during my high school and college years. One night, just like any other, I was babysitting for some family friends. I had babysat for them probably 3 or 4 other times leading up to this night. I was familiar with their kids, and they knew me well also. Their ages were 5 and 6, I believe. I also knew the house pretty well, which I would describe as average but on the nicer side. The house was only 1 level, but had a really nice and large living room as well as kitchen. Then there was a hallway with about 4 bedrooms and a bathroom in it. The kids that I was watching were a brother and a sister. For the story, I will call the boy Jay and the girl Kay. On that night, after the kids had dinner, I played a few games with them in the living room. After we had finished one game, Kay said that she wanted to go to her room. I said okay, and she walked away down the hallway. There was maybe 20 minutes or so before bedtime. Jay then went to his room as well. The kids each had toys and books in their bedrooms that they liked to play with. I reminded them that their bedtimes were coming up as they left the room. I remained in the living room area until it was time for the kids to go to bed. Then I got up and walked over to their bedrooms to remind them. I got to Jay's bedroom first, and he was playing with his mini basketball hoop. I told him that it was bedtime, and he said okay, and he was going to get ready for bed. Then I walked across the hall to Kay's room. Her door was not closed, but it was almost closed. When I opened it up, I did not immediately see her inside. I walked in the room after that, but I still didn't see her. When I looked around, I noticed that the bedroom window was open. Kay's bedroom window faced the backyard. I walked over and looked outside. That's when I saw her standing about 10 feet away. There was a man standing next to her. As I stuck my head out the window, I yelled for Kay to come back inside. When the man that was standing there saw me, he took off running. Thankfully, he didn't try to take Kay with him or anything like that. She came back over to the window and climbed back inside. I was at a loss for words, but just happy that Kay was okay and back inside. She told me that the man had appeared at her window and asked her to open it. When she did, he asked her to come outside and play. That's when she climbed out the window, and the man began to talk to her, and he said he was going to take her to the park. I, as well as Jay, had no idea that this was going on. I called the police after that. To make the rest of the story short, they never found the guy to my knowledge. He was long gone when they got there. He also never came back though. This happened when I watched my sister's son for her. His name is Carter, and he's 15 years old now, but was only 10 at the time. When my sister had to go out of town for work, she called me. I would consider myself to be a fun uncle, and Carter and I have always got along well. At the time, I lived in a little apartment, but I would stay at my sister's house for the 3 days that she was going to be away. I was in college, and had just gotten back recently for summer break. However, Carter was still in school. During the day when he was at school, I did chores around the house, like vacuum, take out the trash, and got a few groceries. This was part of the deal with my sister, and she was paying me for it. When Carter got home from school, I did my best attempt at cooking. I was able to make mac and cheese and other pasta pretty well, but that was about it. Carter really liked to play video games, and I was supposed to make sure that he didn't spend too much time doing so. We went out to the yard and played catch the first day, and later I played some video games with him. I made sure he got to bed at a decent time though, and on the second day, I got up and made sure that he was up and ready for school by the time the bus came. When Carter got back from school, I helped him with some homework that he had. After that, I ordered pizza for dinner because I didn't want to make Carter eat my terrible cooking again. We watched TV and had pizza, and afterwards, I told him I would play him at video games since his homework was done. There was a game in particular that he wanted to play, but he said he hadn't played it in a really long time. In fact, it was down in the basement, and then he went downstairs to go get it. I was in the living room and saw Carter come running back up the stairs a short time later. He didn't have the game in his hands though. He looked concerned about something, and he told me very quietly that he saw a man in the basement. My first reaction was that possibly Carter just thought he saw a man, and like many other kids, he was afraid to go into the basement at night. Still, I was a little bit concerned that he really did see a man. I asked Carter where the man was and what he was doing. I was told that he was behind one of the boxes in the main room of the basement, and Carter said he didn't think the man saw him. When I asked if he got a good look at the man, Carter said no. I decided that I would go down and see for myself. Carter stayed upstairs, and I walked right over to the basement door and opened it. I had been in the basement just a couple of times before. It was mainly one large room, but also had a couple of other rooms in the back of it. My sister used it as storage, and there were some boxes and old furniture down there. When I got down there, I looked around, but at first I didn't notice anything. I walked over and found the game that Carter had been wanting to get, but as I picked it up, I heard a noise. I couldn't quite tell where it was coming from, but it seemed like it was right behind me now. I froze and listened. Things got silent again. I started to walk back over to the stairs, which were maybe 10 feet away, but then I heard another noise. I looked over, and that's when I saw the guy. He was partially behind a box, and he was looking right at me. I saw the guy's head and half of his body from behind the box. I ran back up the stairs. When I reached the top, I closed the door behind me, but as I did, I started hearing footsteps coming up. There was no way to lock the door from the outside. The first thing that came through my mind was to hold the door shut or something, but I knew that wouldn't work. I didn't have any more time to stop and think about what to do, so I ran out to the living room. There, I told Carter to follow me, and we both ran for the front door. We made it outside, and then we both went all the way to my car and got in. I started the engine, but wanted to see if the guy would leave the house. When I didn't see him leaving, I called the police. Carter and I waited in the car in the driveway until the police got there about 10 minutes later. The man never left the house, and when the police went inside, they returned with the man a short time later. The crazy thing is that I have no idea when or how the guy got down there. Maybe I left the door unlocked and he snuck in. He had to have been there since at least the previous day, maybe even longer. That really creeps me out to think about.
Hello, my name is Annabella. I'm a female, and this happened when I was about 10. My mom was at work. At this time, she usually worked from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. at a hospital which was located downtown. When she did, my babysitter Allie would come to my house to watch me. I had just recently met her, and she was a new sitter for me. In fact, it was just the third night that she was watching me. For some background, her name was Allie and she was 19 at the time this happened. Anyway, my bedtime was at 8:30, but the previous times she had let me stay up past that. So that night, it was about 9 o'clock, and we were watching a movie. Suddenly, I heard this sound from outside. It was like a click. I looked out the window. We had black curtains, but they were open a little bit. I thought that I could see movement, but I thought it was just me. At least, I hoped it was just me. Then, I closed the curtains. Allie sitting next to me asked, "Why did you close the curtains?" I responded with, "Oh, just because it's nighttime." Later that night, I went to sleep and I heard footsteps when I was trying to fall asleep. Just to add some background, we live in a townhouse on the top floor, and there are 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. My babysitter never went upstairs unless she was tucking me in. I walked very quietly to the doorway of my room, and I had a view of the whole living room. I saw Allie sitting on the couch on her laptop. So who was walking around outside my house? I did not want to cause any commotion. I had blinds that covered my window. There was a little bit of space between the end of the blinds and the end of the window, though. I slowly, quietly crept towards the window and slowly pulled the blinds open. Then I saw 2 men walking around outside my window. I ran downstairs, sat on the couch next to Allie, and told her everything I had seen. We snuck out through the garage and ran and got in Allie's car. We watched the garage door close and then drove away as we called my mom and then the police. Long story short, the men were eventually located and had attempted several break-ins in the area. I'm just happy that they did not get into my house and that they were caught, but this story still gives me the chills.